Helpless.io.
What's up, to viewers? My name is Pax, and I'm speaking facts. And today, I'm here to talk to you guys about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm back like scoliosis and halitosis. And today, we're going to go over here to the Earn Your Leisure podcast where Jermaine Dupri sat down and talked a little bit about everything. So Def, Jay-Z, selling his masters and being a part of history, hip hop royalty. He has a legacy empire. Jermaine Dupri is absolutely a 100% triple threat. So we're going to go and sit down and see where he's talking about selling his masters over here on the Earn Your Leisure podcast. Y'all go over there and subscribe to their channel if you haven't already and check out their content. So with no further ado, let's get over here and see what Jermaine Dupri had to say about selling his masters. You know, we hear about it a lot in the media today. What's the number? 100 million, 200 million. You know, we're hearing Quincy Jones' estate might be getting $500 million, $500 million for his catalog. So, you know, let's see what Jermaine Dupri has to say. You know, he's game tight. He knows what he's talking about. And I definitely am here for what he's got going on. So, with no further ado, let's get over here and see what he got going on.
I thought about selling some pieces of my catalog. Because it's like property. You can sell some pieces
without selling everything.
I mean, if somebody want to buy some, they gonna buy. It's just like a house. If you got a lot of them, right? I got a lot of them, so I could, you know what I mean? Which one you want to buy? But I also was thinking about this.
I like that bracelet.
I was thinking about this because I'm into art, and I was looking at like Basquiat, and I was looking at like the Warhols, and when you look at like the way that they made these paintings, right? It feels like somebody warned them that that the price was going to go up.
If this is your first time to the Mummy Dust Media channel, please take this time to subscribe. Leave a comment, share the channel with someone else who might like this content, and of course, interact. Because if you hype the channel, if you leave me a comment, if you share, if you subscribe, it keeps me in the algorithm and lets YouTube know that you're digging the content. So, man, I really appreciate y'all for all of your support. It means a lot to me, man. You know, it really does. So, with no further ado, let's get back to Jermaine Dupri. So Def, baby.
Right? And I feel like in the beginning of my career, I didn't know what I was. I didn't know the power that I was. I also didn't know what I was going to bring to the industry. I was just shooting, right? But now I've been here 35 years, and I can see that all the records that I wrote in 92, they about to revert back to me anyway, right? That ain't normal, right? Like Prince died telling us about writing slave on his face because he wanted his masters. Right. If he could have stayed here another 10, 15 years and made more music, they was going to come back to him anyway. Right.
So what he's essentially saying is that part of the way that it works with your publishing and things like that, when you write music and perform music, that, you know, when they sell off their masters or their catalogs, that you know, they can't take ownership of it. But when they own their masters, you know, then obviously they have a lot more control over how their art is used. So when the masters are sold, you know, someone that takes ownership of the art of the catalog, then after there's a clause in there that says after a certain period of time, 30 years, 40 years, maybe, because we've heard a little bit about this with Jay-Z and some of his material, specifically the Reasonable Doubt album being coming back to him soon. And I think his was maybe 30 years. Jermaine Dupri mentioned 40 years. I'm not sure. Maybe the clause varies. But the point is that the artist will get ownership of their masters once that time period expires. And so a lot of times, most of the time, especially in hip hop, there was no blueprint. There were no artists that came along and which the artists of that time were able to see them regain control of their art and ultimately be able to use that and benefit from it. So what he's saying is that when he was there, when he, back when he was creating his art, he was just shooting in the dark, having fun. It did become a sensation. He built an empire, a record label off of it, but there was no blueprint. They didn't really know how this worked. And so now he's kind of illustrating how this clause, how the time frame works, and that he's going to soon be able to get full ownership of all of the art that he released back in 1992.
Right? What you see me and other artists that are like legacy artists, I guess, at this point in time.
Absolutely.
We're doing something that the music business has never actually seen. A lot of these people, when they wrote these songs prior to me, 30 years after their records came out, they had passed away, or they did some overdose. Something happened
Right.
where they didn't they weren't able to actually put their hands on their projects and make proper deals.
How many times have we seen that? Even from like he mentioned, Prince, Michael Jackson, Biggie, Nirvana, and them, Kurt Cobain, even bigger, huge artists that died before they were ever to regain control of their masters. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's ones that you guys can remember, specific artists that you can remember that passed away that maybe were controversial at their time or during a time where they were specifically mentioning that they wanted to regain control, ownership of their art, of their artistry, of their catalogs, and then ultimately passed away before being able to do so. Y'all let me know in the comments if y'all can remember any specific examples.
So with that being said, I'm looking at this saying, I understand what selling your publishing is, but I'm also the first of my kind that'll actually be able to walk into everything that I wrote 40 years ago.
Wow.
Actually coming back.
Explain that for the people that might not be familiar with what you're talking about.
Well, like when you talk about masters and you talk about publishing, like I did a publishing deal with, like I said, with Sony, where they get 50% of the writing that I get, right? Mm-hmm. But it's I think the law is 40 years, right? Where anything that goes over 40 years, it automatically comes back to the originator.
So their 50% goes back to you. I think it might be 35.
Yeah. Their 50% comes back to me, and then I become 100% of all of them songs that have been split moving forward.
Yeah,
right?
That's powerful. We need
that. And that it's just like that's never really happened in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of, like I said, the guys that's in here, we don't, they don't, and they still currently on the front line. You won't actually see that. So with me being in that space, I have to look at it from a different perspective, because the people that I've seen sell their catalogs, they don't actually put out that much music after they do it.
Right.
I'm still out here putting out records, still in the studio every night. I still have a space to go.
So what do y'all think? How do you feel about that? What's your number? Would you sell your catalog? And if you did, would you do it with the presence of mind, knowing that, you're going to be able to take full ownership, as they keep alluding to? We're hearing different numbers, but 35 years, 30 years, 40 years, that it's actually a law and that not just a clause in those contracts where you will ultimately get full ownership of your catalog again in the future. Let me know in the comments section, what would be your number? Specifically, if you were Jermaine Dupri and So Def, if you guys are familiar with his catalog and his music, what would be your number? I think he turned down a pretty significant number to sell his masters.
And I still have a place that I want to go to. So it ain't really even in my, I mean, it's a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you keep working, you're going to make money anyway.
Why do you think that there's such a big push to buy catalogs now? Do you think that it's going to be, they're going to train AI on it? Like, why all of a sudden people just getting 200, 500? Like, what makes music catalog so valuable? In
I mean, because you can do something with it. You know what I mean? Like, you take, like, say, for instance, like, well, shit, Quincy Jones, you got, you know, they got Thriller out of that shit. You could do whatever you want to do with that Michael Jackson music. Like,
right.
And it's just like anything. Like, I seen I seen a commercial today with Ludacris, and he's on there and he talking about move. It's like something about grass or something. And he talking about move, bitch, and it's like,
right.
The more culture becomes cool to
mainstream
America that didn't think it was that cool when it became cool.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's also what we're in a space where we was trying to get into the Met Gala. We got into the Met Gala. But when we went, it's a generation of people that weren't paying attention to why we was at the Met Gala. Now,
so what he's saying is, and that's a great example, you know, ultimately hip hop was a segue, and it allowed these artists to break through to spaces and places where, you know, we never expected to be. These hip hop artists never imagined being at the Met Gala. It was really a hush hush event, and through their music, through their artistry, they were able to break through and not only occupy those spaces, but influence those spaces heavily. And, you know, shout out to Jermaine Dupri and everything that he's created, the label, So Def, all of the music that he's written for other artists and himself and performed. He's absolutely a legacy artist, you know, a generational talent, and I think he should be celebrated. I am absolutely glad to see that he is keeping ownership of his music and that he's excited about regaining ownership of some of the music that he has sold off, but also showing other artists, showing youth what to do with their art in order to use it to feed their families and monetize it. And like he said, use it commercially for a whole array of different things. So shout out to Jermaine Dupri for sitting down and doing this interview and sharing this wisdom. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. My name is Pax, and I'm just here to spread these facts. So if you see my face, you in the right place. Come on back again and tell a friend, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in, and go out in the community, shake a hand, meet a friend, be an inspiration or be inspired. Thank y'all once again, and I'm out of here.